how's it going? So, it's full moon, and I thought it'd be groovy to get all witchy with it. So, today, I'm doing this for a few reasons. A, because it's fun. B, because it's necessary. C, because it's fun. And so I've been spending the day doing various activities for the full moon because it's fun. And I thought it might be cool to kind of share some of my stuff here. I go back and forth on having the little magical tools. Ultimately, if you're doing any sort of ritual, you're trying to create a certain kind of energy. You're raising energy. And so, while I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have all the stones and candles and crystals and shit, it does help in the sense that it does help get you in the mood, you know, and energy does a lot. So if you have the right vibes for something, it may be more successful. And what I'm doing tonight is not really any kind of particularly crazy work. It's some more, you saw an earlier video I posted, just doing, I think any kind of ritual is basically just setting intentions. And that contention, that intention can either be to bring something into your life or to release something from your life. And for me, the big theme has been release, coming over the last few weeks. But, you know, nature abhors a vacuum, as they say. So when you release stuff, what do you want to fill the space with? So I'm kind of looking at this from a more balanced perspective. For me, it's been an issue of boundaries and stuff, and letting go of things that don't serve. So what I did before I started filming this is I have this little, some people use abalone shells. This is just a coconut shell, a kava, but I have sage in it, and I burned some sage and kind of cleared the house. And I did a lot of cleaning this week, and that's one good way to bless up a space. And I also went through and saged all my crystals and things like that. And some of these items I've had for a while and didn't have on my person. I left them at a friend's house, and I've decided to kind of reclaim a few of my things. In shamanic work, often if you are healing someone, you are going and getting pieces of their soul back. If there was trauma or something like that happened, then that causes like a split or a severance where part of you goes away. You can see that in things like PTSD or CPTSD, where you'll often have like, you don't have maybe memory of that trauma specifically because in order to protect yourself, it's kind of locked away. It's compartmentalized. So shamanism kind of works with that same idea, except it's looking at it in terms of a part of your spirit broke off and went somewhere else because it didn't feel safe there, right? And the ultimate goal is to bring back wholeness by bringing back these pieces of yourself, letting these pieces of yourself know that you're safe. It's okay now. And so it was kind of indirect, not exactly on purpose, but it ended up working out that way, where I ended up acquiring a few of my possessions that I haven't had for a while, such as like this crystal or this antler. And I found this beauty about a year ago when I was at my parents' house. and I was doing some gardening work for them and pulling a massive fuck ton of weeds, like giant weeds that I got overgrown. And as I was doing that, I found this in the garden, and it's very meaningful to me just because of the symbolism that it has and how I found it. One of my guides appears as a being with horns, with antlers, like half man, half deer sometimes, and I don't know, they're just pretty nifty. But so that was kind of like in speaking to me in a way, and it was kind of foolish of me to let this go, but at the same time, I think it served a purpose. Everything tends to serve a purpose, even if you don't always understand it in the moment. So these things have come back to me around the same time I decided to make some decisions that are better for my health, in essence. So it's just kind of a funny synchronicity. And so today I thought it would be neat, because I haven't done this in a while, to kind of set up a little altar space and just kind of honor that and enjoy the space and enjoy the energy of these stones. This is another one that was given to me by a friend. When I was going through a hard time, this labradorite is good healing stuff. And some of these I found at the beach. And they say if you find a stone with a hole in it, it allows you to see into other worlds, into the fairy realms and stuff. And I've actually found a number of them. And it's pretty groovy. Some of these are just random ones I found. This here is, I don't know if you can really make it out in here. It says to be. I found this when I was up on Mount Kea. It's a piece of glass that is shaped kind of like Big Island, and I found it when I was going through some challenges. I was having a existential crisis, so it was interesting seeing this. And I found this, I believe this was right after I got back from Wisconsin last year, around the same time I found this. This whole year has been a really interesting sort of spiritual journey. Around that time I also found this guy. Kind of looks like a bird, or from this side it looks like maybe a dog or something. Some Angus, I don't know. It's just interesting. Anyway, so I had seen this cool video. This lady was doing a tarot card reading, and she's awesome. It's Shanetta's Divine Tarot, I think, on YouTube. She's really good. Like, some of her stuff is just like uncanny, and she actually inspired me to start doing readings online too, which I'll do one later for funsies. But she had suggested in her reading for and I think this was last month, but it just happened to be synchronous that we're up to a full moon today, doing a ritual where basically you write down all those things that keep you up at night, that prevent you from your peace, essentially. She calls it a brain dump, I think. You just write down everything that's bothering you, everything that's messing with your headspace, and you write it all down, and you burn it. And in burning it, it transmutes it, and it clears that energy. And that's something you can do when you're going through some shit, and you need to kind of have some weight off of you. So that's ritual I'm going to do as well. Not inside. I'll go outside for that when the moon rises. But I did spend the day kind of writing out a few things. This is something different. And just a few things that I would like to release and kind of let go of. So I'm going to do that later. And I've done a bit of that this week as well. It's been release week, purging, if you will. But before I go do all that, let's do another one of these nifty readings. Oh, I want to show you something else. This is pretty groovy. This in here. I am often blessed with finding very interesting, cool little mementos from Spirit. This one has a little bit of a injury. It's pretty delicate. I don't take it out of here very often. This is a 7-petal plumeria flower that I found here on Big Island. And it's some magic shit. I pressed it in a book and I still have it. It's not all pure white like plumerias are anymore, but it's still beautiful if you can look at it up close. It's like, you can see all the little details in it. But it's one of those reminders to me from Spirit, you know, that there's much more to life than just your humdrum concrete and taxes and mundania. So now we got some fun energy stuff going. Let's see. So in the name of balance, to honor that balance, I think since I have been focused on releasing a lot, maybe what kind of things do we want to fill that void with? What would be good to focus on now in tandem with releasing and having boundaries? What do we want to fill that space with? And how can we do it? What's the best way to approach that? And anything else that might be pertinent. So, determination and reflection. To me, that means, I think, before you can fill that space with good, it's really important to be determined in the decisions to better yourself in terms of like having good boundaries and things like that. It might be prudent to reflect on those things and see how do your interactions impact you? How do these things make you feel on a day-to-day basis, on a case-by-case basis? And how do you react to them? That's the question I ask myself. It's like, how much of this is a mess I create for myself, and how can I change that? That one was cool. Courage! Have the courage to fucking do it. Right. So I kind of get the impression that, you know, it's maybe a case of one step at a time. You know, the other stuff, you know, may come. And I think, actually, I think it's good to remain determined, as this card said, and being steadfast with that. But then you can reflect, because it's going to be different for every person, on what fills your cup, what makes you feel good. This one that jumped out, relaxation. So it may be good to take some time for yourself and chillax. Have the courage to know when you need a break and when you need to be in your own space and recharge. Joy. What brings you joy in life? That's what's going to fill that void. What are the things you can do that give you those good vibes and good feelings? What makes you happy? Do that. Anything else? What's other pertinent information for us to know? Wholeness, fulfillment, beginnings, and understanding. Wholeness, fulfillment, beginnings, and understanding. So I would say understand the new beginnings that come from I think if you fulfill these things, you will find a new beginnings. You'll come to this understanding, and that will bring you wholeness. That might seem like kind of a cop-out explanation. I feel like the cards kind of speak for themselves in this, but for me, my take on it is basically, I've been hanging on to a lot of shit. I've been stressed about a lot of stuff and repeating a lot of the same patterns. And I'm finally reaching that understanding. And through that understanding, new beginnings are often, I'm sure you see that meme, new beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. And for something to begin, something generally has to end, right? So, beginnings. You can look at that in two ways. You can look at releasing something as inviting something else. And I feel like the cards fulfillment and wholeness kind of go together. You will kind of I think wholeness is the sense that, these things complement each other, endings and beginnings, that understanding of endings and beginnings, that duality. That's, I would say, how the wholeness can be interpreted there. And I think when you come to that understanding, it's easier to let go of the fear of uncertainty and find fulfillment and invite those good things in life and be all happy and stuff. So, I'll just put them on there like so. Ta-da. And let's do another one. One more. I think it's saying it's pretty much done, but I like to press it. I'm not gonna let it go. I can't set it up. It's still going a little bit. Little candle. Final messages. Personal transformation. These things lead to personal transformation. That's how you change stuff. You see something that's fucked up, you change it, and you start something new. Boom. Simple. Sometimes easier said than done, but worth it, I think. I found this to be true for myself. Certain situations and people this last year has, I say the last week, the last month, the last 5 months of Saturn retrograde, and the last year has really been, for me, showing me those things in my life that were unhealthy. I don't want to get too smoky in here. And not just things per se, but people. In my case, to be totally candid, some of those people were in my family, like my immediate family, like my parents, but it became clear to me that it wasn't good for my mental health to be in that. I didn't feel safe, and I had to honor that, and as much as it hurt, I had to make the decision to let it go and move on. I had to prioritize myself. I had to nurture my inner child. I had to accept that shit. And it's been a year now since I really spoke to them. Nearly a year. It'll be a year this month. And I do find that while I have a little bit of sadness about it, I must remain steadfast. And I have, and that's been good for me. Priorities. So perhaps this message is important for some of you who may be viewing this, like the 20 people, not even 19 people on my channel. Do me a favor, share the videos. Steadfastness. This is the cards telling me to keep going. They're telling you to keep going. Harmony. Surrender. Fulfillment. Alright. For me, I've had to let go of things so I can invite things in. And let's just say, just fucking do it. For new beginnings. I kind of like this style. Belonging. Maybe, just maybe, I've had to let go of some people so I can find the people I really belong with. Harmony. Splendor. Candle flame's still going. We'll do one more. This may be for somebody. Is there something somebody needs to hear? Is there some burning question somebody has about life, the universe, and everything that is causing them some angst? Innocence. What does that mean to you? Innocence. So, innocence can mean a lot of things. Ultimately, our true nature, I believe that we are all innocent. We are all children of spirit, and we come into this world kind of with clean slates, and then the things that happen in life shape us. And I do believe that, for the most part, people make the best decisions they're capable of at the time, because they're working with the data they have and what they know and understand. So I say something that goes well with innocence. Whether, let's say, you're in a situation where you hurt someone, or let's say you're in a situation where someone hurt you, forgiveness goes a long way with that. You forgive yourself, knowing that if you do other things, you'd probably do better. And just know that you can do better in the future. You may have to make some changes. Insight. I think that goes well with what I was just saying in terms of, we make the best decisions we're capable of. Let's see what else. What else do I need to share? Relaxation. I think this one's just the universe saying, relax, chill out, it's all gonna be okay. What's the back of the deck say? Healing. I think some healing will come out of whatever this might be that is got you stressing. Reflection. You take some time and meditate on it, And I would also say that we're mirrors for each other. We bring each other the lessons we need to. I'm not into victim shaming and shit like that and spiritual bypassing, but I do believe that there is this way the universe works where we do tend to be put around people in situations that do help us evolve. In my own case, there have been lessons I had to learn, and I was around the perfect kind of situations and people that helped me learn those lessons. And some of the shit that's happened to me over the years, at the time I was like, fuck this. And then as I had time to reflect on it, I realized that it did hold some value for me in some sense. So, hope that helps. We should always do our best to be kind to each other and to really check in with ourselves and ask ourselves if what we're doing is right, if we would want to be treated in the way that we may be treating other people, and if we're making assumptions. That's one I have to work on a lot, is I tend to do a knee-jerk reaction and go into assumption mode, and that doesn't always serve me, and it often results in me being hurt and other people being hurt. So, is there anything else we can add to that? Courage, generosity, openness, splendor. I think this is saying have the courage to be generously open. Share your story. I feel like that's kind of what it's telling me. It sometimes takes courage to speak our minds and speak our truth and be open and be generous about that. But I think ultimately when we do that, good things happen. Boom, 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 boom. It creates energetic movement. Shit doesn't get fucked up until it stagnates, right? So if things stagnate, that's when you have illness or chaos or what have you, when things can't move freely and flow. So what do we got here? Embrace joy. That probably helps with some of that energetic movement. See here. Do one more. The candle's still going. I might just keep going with this. Just a little baby flame, just a little wee one, yes it is. Oh, there's a few of them. I have a sense that this is another one that's perhaps different. So, fifth one, we got spiritual quest, we got belonging, we got childlike expression, positive outlook, determination, and cultivation. Life is, in essence, a spiritual quest, whether we want it to be or not, because everything is of spirit. Ultimately, most of us in life seek some sort of belonging, and that's a beautiful thing, but it can also cause some of the chaos we see, because through our search for belonging, sometimes we cling to things that may be hurtful in order to feel like we're a part of a community. A good example of this would be, look at people who may have problems with drugs or alcohol, where they feel isolated and alone, so they turn to these sort of things to kind of numb out some of that feeling from being isolated and alone, or they end up being around people who do that because they lack that community and they crave it, and that's the only way to get it. Childlike expression seems to me, if we can be free to be ourselves as children are without having to worry about all this superfluous extra stuff that isn't really necessary or important, then we can have a community around ourselves that is honest. A positive outlook is likely important because we are all flawed human beings, and we have our good days and our bad days, so it's good to take a step back sometimes if you can't be in a positive outlook and chill, or find the silver lining to a bad situation and see how it served you so that you can learn from that. Determination. What comes to me immediately is just be determined in these things, especially in remaining positive. And know that it may take some time. Don't get mad at yourself if you're not perfect. It's a cultivation. It's something that takes time. And life likes to throw us curveballs and challenges and little things to see if we're kind of learning the lesson. So, bit by bit, don't try to go over the mountain in a single step. That's baby steps. Childlike expression. Okay. Still going, we'll do one more. I may be just going on to a particular theme today. Let's see, what does this say? Joy. I saw one time, I happen to be obsessed with synchronicity. It's one of those things that actually brings me a good amount of joy. And there was one day, I was driving to the gym, and I saw a car ahead of me, and the license plate said "Be Joy," and that was pretty cool. And I often see weird little synchronicities with license plates, where they have messages. Like, there was one time a license plate literally said "relax" on it, and I talk about that in a previous video. It's pretty groovy. Maybe I'm channeling, I don't know. You tell me. I notice how occasionally my voice takes on different qualities, and it feels like different things come through at different times. So maybe there's something to that. I've never really thought of myself as a channel kind of person. However, I think that with us being connected to the infinite, it is likely and possible that we can connect to different experiences within the infinite and different expressions of energy. Understanding and surrender. I would say as well that with those cards too, that it's likely that this happens and it's a natural thing that has been made into this phenomenon that is not really that far-fetched. It's made to look crazier than it really is. Everything is energy, and it's all just this like flowing kind of fluid sort of thing. And look at yourself as, you know, the person you were 10, 20 years ago, vastly different than the person you are now, and that can change from time to time, and you may be like moving in different ways, and then you express that in different ways. Understanding and achievement. So, perseverance. I feel like that's telling me to keep going with this. Alrighty. Are there further things to discuss? What else should I talk about here? And what is trying to come through? Everybody does it, man. Don't be ashamed if you might get gassy sometimes, because you were designed to make farts. That's true. It happens. Every single person on this motherfucking planet through the history of time, from the beginning of time, the very first fucking human that walked the earth, and all the animals, or the majority of them as well, they all fucking fart. So I would say we as humans need to accept that about ourselves. Sure, they can be stinky sometimes. There's ways around that. I think we are way too obsessed with trying to think we're not animals. And that causes us a lot of angst and chaos and anxiety and strife, where we could make things much easier on ourselves if we just accept the fact that we're animals. Animals like to fart, and animals like to fuck. Reflection. Delight. Animals like to fart, and animals like to fuck because it feels good. Most people, come on, you can't tell me it doesn't feel good to fart. Do you know how fucking relieving that is? And fucking, on the other hand, usually feels good. Childlike expression. Positive. If the person knows what they're doing. What? Felt like it had to come out. I'm channeling here, okay. Enjoy. You can channel too. Just be silly and speak from your heart. You know you're speaking from your heart because it feels funny in your chest. Got another one. Alright, what's this? Hang on. This What's this one say on the back? I know you're all wondering. It says healing. This one's gonna be about healing, you guys. Okay, aren't they all? Embrace. Sustenance. What were we just talking about? Splendor. The capacity to love. Steadfastness and drive. So what this is basically saying, I just got a great idea. Alright, I'm going to unveil this now. This is the first ever Dirty Tarot card reading. Embrace sustenance, splendor, capacity to love, steadfastness, and drive. So basically, this card came up one time, and it came up with the subject of emotional sustenance, which actually inspired partially a song called Hunger Pains, which is a song that sounds like it's about food, but it's actually about sex. And the song goes like, I got them hunger pains, I got them hunger pains, hey, hey, I need some sustenance, cause I'm getting all angry again. And then it goes, but I don't want no GMO, hell no, I don't need that MSG, I don't want no empty calories, putting all that weight on me. So, embrace the fact that we need sustenance, and sustenance can take many forms. It can be food, or it can be other kinds of food in terms of other animals we like to fuck. I'm putting it in vulgar terms on purpose, but I really mean no, we need emotional sustenance. We need the physical contact and that kind of stuff, and it's important. We are communal creatures. And this reading is for me too, partially because I tend to be pretty guarded and closed off, and I know I need these things for myself too, and sometimes I try to be like, I'm not an animal, I don't need that shit. But you know, part of the inspiration for writing that song is as much as I may want to need those things, I also prefer to be selective about what I get tied up with, because it does no good to get into an intimate relationship with someone and have it fall apart and then just be even more hurt. And, you know, like, that is like eating poisoned food, you know. So, at the same time, it's probably a good idea to not let your past hurts poison your future. Because there is splendor and sustenance, you know, I'm not going to get into that, but there's all kinds of deliciousness out there. But that speaks to our capacity to love, you know. Our ability, I love how capacity to love has this elephant trunk on it and looks quite phallic. But truly, like, our capacity to love, that's, you know, that speaks to these things. And I think, you know, there's steadfastness and drive. Maybe it is important to have steadfastness in your sense of standards. Be steadfast in your standard. Don't let yourself feel like you need to go after, you know, but at the same time have steadfastness in your sense of hope for the future and your own sense of self-love and the things you can do to fill your cup that don't necessarily require those kinds of intimacy. Like, you can fulfill emotional sustenance in many ways. It doesn't necessarily mean being romantically involved with someone or intimate in that level, you know. Drive. I'm kind of drawing a blank on that one. Let's see. Concentration. Okay, I guess I'll concentrate. Drive. I feel like steadfastness and drive sort of go together in a sense, because I think if you have the drive to do good for yourself, the other stuff will, kind of fall into place. At the same time, don't be so driven by these things that you hurt yourself. Balance is very important in life. Beginnings. Yeah. So just as the flip side of beginnings is endings, I think that's where that reading is. Doobie-doo. We do one more for funsies, like shuffle them in. Healing. Go back to the healing. Sexual healing. Can I get that feeling? I want sexual healing. Handy dandy shoulder pad. I don't know, I just feel compelled to do this right now. Don't ask me why. So my friend is here. Hi, friend. Ooh. Drive. Drive. Steadfastness. Spiritual quest. Decision. I will do one more. And then I'm going to go burn this paper. I'm gonna burn one down. I'm gonna burn one down. Let us burn one from end to end. Pass it over to me, my friend. Burn it long, burn it slow. Light me up before I go. If you don't like my fire, then don't come around. 'Cause I'm gonna burn one down. 'Cause I'm gonna burn one down. I don't smoke anymore, but I still like that song. I have Spotify make this playlist where I discovered it made this playlist. Has anybody else gotten a time capsule, like flashback playlist of a bunch of crazy shit they used to listen to, like well before they ever had Spotify? And some of it's like shit you couldn't even remember who sang it, and then you're like, oh, I remember that fucking song. It's kind of trippy. They're watching. Does anybody feel like we're living in a simulation and this is all just real fucked up right here sometimes? I do. Let's talk about that. I feel called to that. Okay. Embrace. Perseverance. Surrender. Fucking universe. Anybody feel like we're living in a simulation? I do. Embrace, surrender, perseverance, fulfillment, enlightenment. Maybe this simulation is gonna lead us to fucking enlightenment and shit. Belonging. We can be with the goddamn ascended masters in all their splendor. Clear your energy. I'm not being, they're yelling at me because I'm throwing them, and that's very disrespectful. But I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I'm sorry. It was more of a case of I was just trying to be funny. Okay, God, don't take everything so seriously. You guys need to clear your energy. So, be candid. I am. All right. Let's see. Insight, innocence, perseverance. I'm gonna shuffle a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go burn some shit. Okay. Doobie-doo, doobie-doo. Doobie, doobie-doo. Not that. I'm not burning that. I don't smoke it anymore. I know you thought when I said I'm gonna go burn some shit, I was talking about weed, but not really. Sometimes I think about it. Sometimes I miss smoking weed. Like, it'd be kind of fun, but I haven't really smoked once, like a tiny hit since June, and I kind of just like my headspace better without it. I find for me that it makes me a little bit paranoid. B, I feel a little bit sluggish on it. It's not that I can't get shit done, I just don't feel quite as sharp. Maybe I'm just kind of sensitive to it. But at the same time, it could also be like differences in strains and stuff. I don't feel like that with every single time I've ever smoked, but I definitely feel like it has an impact on me that I guess I just in general feel better being sober. I don't drink either. Delight and blessings. I quit drinking about 3 years ago, and actually I'd like to speak to that a little bit. When we were talking earlier about channeling, it's tuning into frequencies, and sometimes I think those things can be conscious frequencies, conscious energy, spirits, however you want to say that. And like we all have, we're all sovereign. We're all our own beings, but we're also all one. But while we're having this experience, sort of like that flower of life concept, each iteration has the illusion of being finite, but contains within it the infinite. But when it comes to drinking and alcohol and things like that, I think it also opens you up to a form of channeling where certain streams of consciousness try to come through that are maybe not so good, that you maybe don't want to open doors to. Be candid, spiritual practice. So in terms of that, I've noticed something too, being around people who had severe alcoholism, and I would see this transformation come over them, and like it literally reminded me of like Lord of the Rings, where like Smeagol would transform into Gollum. He'd be all happy, and then his face would twist into this kind of look of hatred almost, and it's a very, like, when you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll see it, and it's like I found it shocking a few of the times that I noticed this, and it was like I could see this other energy come into the person, and usually that would happen when they've hit a pretty severe level of intoxication, and at that point that kind of like twisted would cause them to do some gnarly shit. And that was part of what inspired me to quit drinking as well, because I didn't want to end up like that. And also I hate hangovers. Belonging, guidance. So I am not necessarily opposed to certain things like some hallucinogenics and stuff, although it's been a while since I've done any of that, and I keep that to a minimum. Lately I've been more on the wavelength of just wanting to just understand my own headspace better, so I've been trying to just keep everything pretty clear. I've even been feeling weird about like caffeine and nicotine lately, like just wanting to understand my own headspace, as I said, without anything on board influencing me. I think it's important to do that sometimes, to take a step back from the various activities you may partake in, just to kind of know yourself. And that's kind of where I've been. And I learned about myself, like when I quit drinking, I learned I really liked myself a lot better when I wasn't drinking, because I don't like hangovers, I don't like losing control. I learned that about myself, and I had to sit and take a hard look at myself too, and be like, you know what, I really feel like I do some dumb shit when I drink, and I'm sure many of us can say that, and so I just kind of decided to just stop, and it was pretty easy for me. And smoking weed, it was kind of the same. It wasn't so much that I did dumb shit on it, but I just didn't enjoy my headspace as much. And when it comes to like hallucinogens and shit, to be totally real, I feel most of the time in life like I'm tripping balls anyway, so I don't really feel like they're necessary. Not to say like I feel like reality's all like, well, it is kind of, but not unbearably so. Like I can tell what's real from what's other realms and shit. It's not like that, but I kind of don't really feel the need to experience that, because I've already had that experience, and I have it on a day-to-day basis of being tapped into something different, you know. And I think that's what a lot of people who dabble in that stuff seek. And I think it's a state you can get to where you don't necessarily need to use tools, but you can, you know, mindfully. So, harmony, cultivation, achievement. I feel pretty good about this. We're running on like an hour now, so it's pretty long. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanna go burn some shit now. Fire. Oh yeah, if you could like this video and comment and tell me if any of this stuff resonated with you, or if there's any kind of like videos you'd like me to do, or if you liked my idea of doing immature tarot, I will definitely do that. Tell me what you think. That would be fucking fun. Tell me what kind of full moon stuff you're doing, and subscribe to my channel. That would be sick in the best way. And by sick, I mean awesome, because I should reframe the way I speak. Priorities. Okay, I got shit to do. Okay, thanks for watching. Aloha.